In 1219, one man sent 200,000 soldiers to destroy the most powerful Islamic empire on earth. Not because he wanted land. Not because he wanted gold. Because someone killed his messengers. This is the story of a nameless orphan who built the largest land empire in human history. The rise of Genghis Khan. The Mongolian steppe in the 12th century was a world without mercy. Dozens of nomadic tribes fought, raided, and betrayed each other across a vast treeless plain stretching from Siberia to the Gobi Desert. There were no cities. No written laws. No unified people. Only the strong survived, and even the strong rarely survived for long. Around the year 1162, in the shadow of Burkhan Khaldun mountain, near the Onan River, a boy named Temujin was born. His father, Yasugei, was the chief of the Borjigin clan, a minor but noble Mongol family. According to legend, the newborn clutched a blood clot in his tiny fist. In Mongol tradition, this was a sign, a prophecy that he would become a great leader. When Temujin was 9 years old, his father took him east to the Conqueror tribe, to arrange a marriage with a girl named Borte. Temujin was left behind to learn their ways. But on the return journey, Yasugei stopped at a Tatar camp. They recognized him as an enemy, and poisoned his food. A messenger rushed to retrieve Temujin, but by the time the boy returned, his father was dead. The clan's laws offered no path for a child to rule. A rival named Targatai from the Teichiud clan seized power. He cast out Temujin's entire family, a widow and 7 children, leaving them to die on the freezing steppe. They survived on wild berries, roots, and the occasional marmot. For the young Temujin, the betrayal burned deeper than the hunger. Starvation sharpened the tension inside Temujin's family. His older half-brother Behkter repeatedly stole food, fish and birds, from the rest of the family. For Temujin, this was more than theft. It was a challenge to his authority. At the age of 13, Temujin and his brother Khasar tracked Behkter across the grass and killed him with arrows. It was brutal. It was decisive. And it announced to the world, Temujin would not be controlled. The Teichiud, fearing Temujin's growing reputation, captured him around 1177. They enslaved him, locking a heavy wooden kang around his neck, a portable prison designed to humiliate. But one night, with the help of a sympathetic guard named Sorkin Shira, Temujin escaped by hiding in a freezing river. The guard's kindness would not be forgotten. Years later, Temujin would reward his family with positions of honor. He never forgot a friend, and he never forgave an enemy. Around 1178, Temujin married Borte. Through this marriage, he gained access to her tribe, the Conqueror. More importantly, he sought the protection of Toghrul, Khan of the powerful Kare tribe and a former blood brother of his late father. Toghrul agreed to act as Temujin's patron. This was Temujin's first great political move, turning a desperate boy into a young man with powerful allies. The fragile peace shattered almost immediately. The Merkits, a rival tribe seeking vengeance for an old feud with Yasugei, raided Temujin's camp and kidnapped Borte. With no army of his own, Temujin turned to Toghrul and his childhood blood brother Jamukha for help. Together, they assembled a force and crushed the Merkits. Borte was rescued. But she returned pregnant, and the paternity of her first son, Joki, would remain a source of whispered doubt that haunted the empire for generations. Temujin and Jamukha had sworn an oath as blood brothers, Andas, in their youth. For a time, they rode together and fought together. But the steppe could not hold 2 rising wolves. Temujin attracted followers with loyalty and merit, promoting warriors based on skill rather than birthright. Jamukha clung to the old aristocratic order. The split was inevitable. After Jamukha rallied rival clans against him, Temujin suffered his first major defeat at the Battle of Dalan Bal's Hut. He was driven into exile, possibly spending years in service to the Jin Dynasty of northern China. He disappeared from history, but he was learning. By around 1195, Temujin re-emerged on the steppe, stronger and wiser. He had forged new alliances, gathered new followers, and earned a reputation as a leader who rewarded loyalty above all else. Warriors came to him not because of his noble blood, but because he treated them fairly. He shared the spoils of war equally. He promoted men of talent, not privilege. This was revolutionary in a world built on tribal aristocracy. One by one, rival clans began to submit. Temujin carried a deep hatred for the Tatars, the tribe that had poisoned his father. In alliance with Toghrul and the Jin Dynasty, he launched a devastating campaign against them. When the Tatars were defeated, Temujin did something that shocked even his own allies. He executed every Tatar male taller than the height of a wagon wheel. It was a calculated act of terror, designed to ensure the Tatars would never rise again. Mercy was a luxury Temujin could not afford. Toghrul, who had once been Temujin's greatest patron, began to see his former protege as a threat. Influenced by his son Sengum, Toghrul turned against Temujin. The Kharat and the Mongol armies clashed. After a bitter and bloody struggle, Temujin defeated Toghrul's forces. The old Khan fled and was killed by Naimans who did not recognize him. Temujin absorbed the Kharat tribe into his own, growing his army dramatically. He was now the most powerful man on the steppe. Only two obstacles remained, the Naiman tribe to the west and Jamukha, who had joined them. In 1204, at the Battle of Chakramot in the Altai Mountains, Temujin destroyed the Naiman army. Their leader Tayang Khan was killed. His son Kuklug fled west. Jamukha, abandoned by his own men, was betrayed and brought before his old blood brother. According to the secret history of the Mongols, Jamukha asked to be executed with honor, without the spilling of blood. Temujin granted this final request. The last rival was gone. In the spring of 1206, at the source of the Onan River, every Mongol chief gathered for a great assembly, a Kurultai. There, a shaman named Kokochu proclaimed Temujin the ruler of all who dwell in felt tents. He was given a new name, Genghis Khan. The meaning has been debated for centuries. Some translate it as universal ruler. Others say oceanic ruler. But its meaning was clear to everyone on the steppe: there was now one law, one army, and one leader. The age of warring tribes was over. The age of empire had begun. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer, he rebuilt. He reorganized all of Mongol society into a military structure based on units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, called a tuman. These units broke the old tribal bonds. Warriors from different clans fought side by side, forging a unified army loyal to the Khan alone. He created a 10,000-strong elite bodyguard called the Kashid, filled with the sons of his commanders, ensuring their father's loyalty. He issued the Yasa, a code of laws that governed everything from military discipline to religious tolerance. Theft was punishable by death. Betrayal was unforgivable. But every religion was to be respected. And every man's word was sacred. Genghis Khan understood that an empire stretching across thousands of miles needed communication. He created the Yam, a vast postal relay system with stations placed every 20 to 30 miles across the entire empire. Fresh horses and riders waited at each stop, ready to carry messages at astonishing speed. A message could cross the empire in days, a journey that would take merchants months. It was the medieval world's fastest communication network, and it gave Genghis Khan an information advantage no other ruler could match. With the steppe unified, Genghis Khan turned south. His first target was the Western Xia Kingdom, a Buddhist Tangut state in northwestern China. After initial raids in 1205 and 1207, the Mongols launched a full invasion in 1209. At the capital Yinchuan, the Mongols attempted to divert the Yellow River to flood the city, but the crude dam broke and flooded their own camp instead. Yet the Xia emperor saw the futility of further resistance and surrendered, becoming a Mongol vassal. Genghis Khan had secured his southern flank. Now his eyes turned to an even greater prize. In 1211, Genghis Khan declared war on the Jurchen Jin Dynasty of northern China, a vast empire of 60 million people, protected by the Great Wall and massive fortified cities. The Mongols, who had never besieged a major city before, had to learn fast. They recruited Chinese and Central Asian engineers. They built siege towers, catapults, and battering rams. By 1215, the Jin capital, modern-day Beijing, had fallen. The Mongols had proven they could defeat not just nomads, but the greatest civilization in Asia. But the full conquest of the Jin would take another 2 decades. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a caravan of 500 Muslim merchants to the Khwarezmian Empire, the most powerful Islamic state in Central Asia, stretching from Afghanistan to the borders of Iraq. His intention was trade, not war. But the governor of the border city of Otrar, a man named Inalchuk, accused the merchants of being spies and arrested them. When Genghis Khan sent diplomats to demand justice, the Khwarezmian Shah Muhammad beheaded the chief envoy and sent the others back with their beards shaved, a devastating insult. The Shah had just signed his empire's death warrant. Genghis Khan assembled between 100,000 and 200,000 warriors, the largest Mongol army ever gathered. In the winter of 1219, he personally led the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire. The army split into multiple columns. Joki and Jib attacked the Fergana Valley. Chagatai and Ogidi besieged Otrar. And Genghis Khan himself, with his youngest son Tolui, crossed the supposedly impassable Kizilkum Desert, appearing behind enemy lines like ghosts. Bukhara, one of the greatest cities of the Islamic world, was the first to fall. When the city's defenders attempted to break out, they were massacred in the open field. Genghis Khan entered the Grand Mosque on horseback. According to the Persian chronicler Javani, he told the terrified citizens that he was the punishment of God, sent because they had committed great sins. The artisans were spared and sent to Mongolia. The soldiers were executed. The rest were enslaved. As the Mongols looted the city, a fire broke out and reduced Bukhara to ashes. The Mongols marched to the Khwarezmian capital of Samarkand. The city had a garrison of 40,000 defenders. On the third day, the Mongols used their signature feigned retreat, luring half the garrison out of the walls, then surrounding and annihilating them. By the 5th day, the city surrendered. The population was massacred. Shah Muhammad had already fled west, abandoning his own capital. His empire was crumbling around him. Genghis Khan sent his 2 finest generals, Jib and Subutai, with 20,000 riders on a mission without precedent. They were ordered to chase Shah Muhammad across the known world. The 2 generals rode through Persia, over the Caucasus Mountains, and deep into the Russian steppe, a 3-year, 5,500-mile pursuit that became history's longest cavalry raid. The Shah fled from city to city, disguised and desperate. He finally died, broken and alone, on a small island in the Caspian Sea. While Jib and Subutai chased the Shah westward, Genghis Khan sent his youngest son Tolui south to crush the wealthy cities of Khorasan. Tolui moved with terrifying efficiency. The great Silk Road city of Merv surrendered after a week-long siege, and Tolui broke his promise, massacring nearly the entire population. At Nishapur, where a Mongol prince had been killed during an earlier skirmish, the Mongols slaughtered every living thing in the city, including the cats and dogs. The destruction of Khorasan was so complete that the region would not fully recover for centuries. In 1223, Jib and Subutai, still far from home, encountered a coalition of Russian princes and Cuman warriors on the banks of the Kalka River in what is now Ukraine. The Allied force numbered 80,000. The Mongols had 20,000. Using a feigned retreat that lasted 9 days, Subutai lured the overconfident enemy army across the open steppe, stretching their lines until they broke. Then the Mongols turned and struck. It was a slaughter. The Russian vanguard was routed before the rest of the army could even deploy. The captured Prince of Kiev was placed under a wooden platform, and the Mongols feasted on top of it, crushing him to death beneath their celebration. It was the first Mongol battle in Europe. It would not be the last. When Genghis Khan had gone west to destroy the Khwarezmian Empire, he had asked the Western Xia kingdom for military support. They refused. Worse, they conspired with the Jin Dynasty to break free of Mongol control. Genghis Khan did not forgive. In 1225, he returned east with 180,000 soldiers and launched a campaign of total annihilation. Cities were razed. Fields were burned. The once prosperous kingdom was systematically erased from history. The destruction was so complete that today, the Western Xia civilization is almost entirely unknown. In the winter of 1226, while hunting during the Xi Xia campaign, Genghis Khan fell from his horse and suffered severe internal injuries. His generals begged him to stop, to return to Mongolia and recover. But the old warrior refused. He pressed on for months, growing weaker. On August 18, 1227, Genghis Khan died. He was approximately 65 years old. On his deathbed, he gave one final order: the Western Xia must be wiped from the face of the earth. His death was kept secret. His funeral procession killed everyone it encountered on its journey home. He was buried in an unmarked grave, somewhere near the sacred mountain of Burkhan Khaldun. His final resting place has never been found. By the time of his death, Genghis Khan's empire stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, twice the size of the Roman Empire at its peak. His descendants would push even further, reaching Poland, Vietnam, Syria, and Korea. At its height, the Mongol Empire covered 12 million square miles, an area the size of Africa. 40 million people may have died during the Mongol conquests, roughly 10% of the world's population. But Genghis Khan also granted religious freedom to all his subjects. He abolished torture. He created international trade routes that connected East and West for the first time. He built the first global postal system. And genetic studies suggest that 1 in every 200 men alive today carries his DNA. He was the most destructive force in human history, and the most transformative. From nameless orphan to master of the world. Genghis Khan's story proves that empires are not born from wealth or inheritance, they are forged in suffering. But empires also fall. And the sons of Genghis Khan would tear his creation apart from within. Next episode, the empire breaks, the civil wars that shattered the Mongol world. Subscribe to Echoes of Empires. Rise. Fall. Repeat.